and welcome to the Bottom Up Skills Podcast. I'm Mike Parsons. I'm the CEO of Qualitance, and we are getting into the tools of Agile software development. Now, quick note here, not getting into the actual coding tools, but we're actually getting into the tools by which we can manage projects in an Agile way. And I'm very excited to introduce two tools to you today. They're called Jira and Confluence. And I'm particularly excited about sharing those because they are made by my compatriot Australian friends. So what fantastic software it is. And I'll do my good, proud Australian tip of the hat to the team at Atlassian who make Jira and Confluence. So why is Jira and Confluence so important, and why have I selected it as the key in terms of tools to managing Agile software development projects? Well, I have to say that when you are doing an Agile project, I think the most important thing to realize is it's intense, it's fast. You've got a clear direction that you have to go. You have to move fast. It's a small team, and there's this high degree of ownership that's required. And I think also what you have to realize is that Agile is an idea, and particularly if you're using Scrum as your method to do Agile, where you have to trust in the process. And you've got to trust in the process because unlike Waterfall, Agile says, hey, look, at the start of the project, we don't know everything. So if we have a good process, we know in the end we'll answer all the questions that we're going to have. And so at the heart of that, there are kind of two big jobs to be done by the individuals in an Agile team. One, they have to collaborate, they have to work on stuff together. And two, it's all about managing your tasks, your contributions in your role. And later on in this webcast, in this podcast series, we're going to talk about all the different roles. But there's these two jobs, collaboration and tasks. And tasks obviously kind of live in a greater workflow. Now, if you're going to trust in the process of Agile and Scrum, and you want to collaborate, and you want to get your tasks done, then Confluence and Jira are the essential tools. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, you could be adopting some additional tools. You could be pulling together some add-ons here. But for the vast majority of people, you will find that Confluence is great at helping you collaborate on your thinking and your ideas. And Jira is just great at prioritizing tasks and the work to be done. Now, the great beauty is they work like Batman and Robin because they're made by the same company. So if you want to work in an Agile way, if you want to deploy Scrum, you got to kick open an instance of Confluence and Jira. And what I want to do now is take you on a quick tour through the roles that they play and why they're important. So let's start with Confluence. The best way to think about Confluence is it's almost like Google Docs meets a wiki, and it's specific, obviously, for your project. And I like Confluence because it's a great way to edit your work and to capture your thinking. And I think it's really essential that users, that collaborators in a project can, no matter where they are, they can accomplish more together by bringing the thinking together. A great example of this is, let's say that we've got an idea for a certain feature. That idea has to be documented. It has to be tested and validated and brought to life. And the thing is that you will be amazed at how important it is to be able to look back somewhere and find out why are we building this feature, how did we get to it, and what's all the related information to it. It sounds a bit abstract now, but when you're in a project, if you have this in a centralized place where everybody can understand what we've decided to do and why, you can get on with more of the design and the developments. You can see people's comments. You can see the kind of story behind what you're doing. And this alignment means that you can then focus more on doing great design, great code, and bringing things together. If you don't have this in a central place, what happens is you end up finding yourself having all these calls and meetings because people aren't really on the same page. And that's what Confluence solves. And what's so fun is that putting the thinking behind a user story, feature, an epic, a theme, all that backstory can then elegantly fit into this other tool, Jira. And what Jira does for you is, at its heart, it is all about getting work done, the task itself. And, the thing is, we can have great task management for ourselves, but here's the thing. How do others know what you're working on? And if they don't know what you're working on, what has to happen is everybody has to have more calls and more meetings. Are you working on that? What are you working on right now? What's up for review? What's complete? What's in your next to-do list? If you don't have your tasks and workflow centralized, then you end up spending all this time just updating and synchronizing between team members. And so what Jira does a great job of doing is getting every member of the team on the same page as to what we're doing now, what's next, what stuff is finished and ready for review, and what stuff has been reviewed, tested, validated, and can be marked as complete. So this planning and tracking of our workflow is an essential part of an agile team because they move so fast. Particularly now, most teams are virtual and remote. It's essential because if it wasn't there, you'd be wasting all that time like I talked about. So these are two tools that are absolutely essential. So you have the backstory in Confluence, you have the to-dos, you have the activities, the tasks stacked up in Jira. Now in Jira, what we generally do is organize this as a backlog, and we put this backlog of activities into a sprint, and this helps us track what we're doing. It sees the general productivity of the team, and it brings all of the where the hell are we into one single place. Now, I just want to spend a quick moment to outline the key things that if you're working in this Agile Scrum way, particularly when you're organizing things in Jira, you're going to talk about 4 concepts around the work. The smallest, most practical thing is a user story, and that's a requirement down to the pixel, down to the click of what's going to happen in a screen in a moment of interaction for the user. That then gets bundled up into epics, which tend to be a little bit more common, bigger feature sets rather than specific little interactions. You then have an initiatives bucket. I don't use those a lot, but the big one that I certainly use is themes. These are, if you've got a product might be built of 5, 6 themes, 20, 30 epics, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of user stories. This architecture of theme, initiative, epic, story is absolute the currency, the vocabulary, the language of Scrum and Agile when you're using these tools. And you really got to spend some time getting into that. You can, obviously, if you are really interested in that kind of thing, jump over to bottomup.io because we do a big breakdown in our Agile Masterclass and you can learn a lot more about it. But this really is the key thing. And if there was one last thought to leave you with, the absolute conversation every day, every hour is, where are we with the user stories? Because this is the smallest, most measurable part of an Agile project. Whew. So there you go. The 2 golden Australian design and manufactured tools, Jira and Confluence. They are absolutely essential and they will help you really wrestle with these ideas of epics and user stories and bring an agile software development project to life. And we all know that this is the best way to build products in the modern age. So there you are. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Bottom Up Skills podcast and going deep into the tools of agile software development. We'll catch you next time on the Bottom Up Skills podcast. That's a wrap.